Have you wanted to learn how to paint furniture or maybe even your cabinets, but you're not sure how? Well, you have found the right place. Welcome to the YouTube channel of Revive Heart and Home. I'm Heidi, where it is my goal to teach and inspire you to decorate your homes in both an eco and budget-friendly way. So grab a pen and paper and maybe a cup of coffee or even a glass of wine and pull up a chair, because I'm going to teach you all the things that you need to know on how to get a finish like this. Everything from Okay, chalk paint, it's all the rage, right? You may have heard it, but you may have never tried it. You may not even really know what chalk paint is. So if you are joining me today and you haven't yet watched my video on what is chalk paint, I encourage you to do that first. You can find it right here. You've already watched that and you are now watching this one. Welcome again. And I'm going to go over the basics of furniture painting. So let's get to it. So you are going to need a few things. So first you're going to need your surface, either your kitchen cabinets, a bathroom cabinet, or a piece of furniture. So really there is no difference. The only difference comes in how you choose to seal or finish it off, and I will cover that for you towards the end. But first, the very most important thing is that you clean it well. So you want to make sure that you always prep your piece with the best cleaner possible. Now, chalk paint, like I've mentioned before, doesn't require you to strip or sand. No stripping or sanding, and which is absolutely fabulous. But you will need to clean it. And it is very important, like I said, that you get the right cleaner. So I highly recommend Clean Slate by Amy Howard at Home. Now the reason I recommend this is that it's one of the only cleaners that removes wax. Now if you have a piece of furniture or a cabinet that predates like the mid-1970s, you are probably going to find wax on it because that's how they polish their furniture. And if you can imagine, over the years that builds up and builds up and builds up. And it is hard to remove, and paint will not stick to it. Whatever kind of paint, it will not stick to wax. And all you're going to do is get a lint-free rag, and or like paper towels that don't have a lot of lint, and I recommend Viva Las Vegas, and use those. So just get a little bit, and you're going to put in some elbow grease here for sure, and you're just going to clean it. Okay, so you're gonna let that air out and evaporate for about 5 minutes before you start the next step. Okay, now that you've had a chance to let that dry, you're gonna pick your paint of choice. And I've also done a segment on my favorite chalk style paint, and you can find that here. And so I won't go over that here, but I only use Amy Howard at Home's One Step Paint. It's a chalk style paint, and it comes in about 100 colors. So lots and lots of great options. So when you open your chalk paint, you're gonna make sure that you stir it, because the sediment and the pigments can settle. And so you're gonna wanna make sure you get some stir sticks from your hardware store and just pull it up from the bottom. Don't just shake it and stir it. Shake it and stir it like a martini. Okay, now you're gonna get your brush. Now there are a couple of brushes that I suggest, and your brush is a very important piece of the puzzle when it comes to the type of finish that you're going to get. When you use a chalk style paint, you can either use a natural bristle brush like this, which is usually made of hog hair, or synthetic bristle brush. And Amy Howard makes some fabulous brushes that really are made and designed to reduce brush strokes. And I'm not going to get rid of them completely, you want to use a foam roller if you don't want to have any brush marks at all. But if you use a foam roller, that's going to require you to put additional coats on because it will go on much smoother than it would if you use a regular brush. So microfiber bristle brushes, and they are all listed down below along with links to her paint. So you're going to get your brush, you're going to dip it, of course, in your paint, and make sure you offload it. I know that might be obvious to some people, but you're going to offload the brush so you don't glob it on. So you're going to dip it in the thing, and then you're going to paint in the grain with the grain of the wood. The grain of the wood goes from left to right here, and I will show you a close-up here in just a second. And you're just going to put on one thin coat, okay? You don't want to put it on really thick. And you're going to want to go, if you start here at the bottom, see it through all the way to the end, and then make your way up, okay, just like that. And when you get to an edge, I suggest taking your brush and moving it off of your piece like that, or off of your piece like that, so that the paint on the brush doesn't end up on the edge. You can see when I attach it like this, when I attack it like this, you're gonna get drip marks. And when this stuff dries, it will dry very hard. And then you're gonna get bumps and lumps where you don't want them. Then, if you come to an area like this where the grain changes direction, you can just follow the grain like this. Like that. And then I gently, very gently go back over where I painted before so that it takes up any excess paint, okay? If you're getting in creases like that, I like to do these creases actually first before I do the surrounding areas. And that way it allows you to, again, take your brush and pick up any excess paint so you don't get drip marks or dried areas of paint that you don't want. So I'm gonna let that dry for about 30 minutes. If you are short on time, you can always take a heat gun or a hair dryer and dry it, but don't get it too close to the paint because you don't want the heat to crack the paint. So I'm gonna let this dry and I'll come back with your next step. So now that this has had a chance to dry, you're going to take your dried panel and a 400 grit sanding block, and you're just going to lightly sand over the top like this. Then you're going to take your paint again, offload it, and in the same direction as you went, you're going to just put on a second coat. Okay, I'm going to let this dry for about a half an hour, and then we will come back and go to the next step. Okay, now that this has had a chance to dry again, you're going to take your sanding block again, and again, just lightly go over it. Okay, so now that it is buttery smooth, you have three options for your final step, for your sealing. And your first step, or your first option, is to actually not seal. So Amy Howard at Home's paint is self-sealing, and as long as you let it cure for about 2 to 3 weeks. If you choose that option, it's great, it's fine, it's wonderful, and you will maintain your very, very matte chalky finish. Now, I wouldn't recommend this on a high touch surface. That it's going to be easier to clean, and that's for cleaning purposes. If you want to clean it, you are going to want to seal it. So now you have two options. You've got matte sealer, which looks like this, and this is an acrylic based top coat, and you have wax. So let's talk about your top coat with using matte sealer first. You are going to want to use, because it is acrylic, you're also going to want to use a synthetic brush. So just like the one that you use to paint, you're just going to take it, dip it in here, and it kind of acts like a glue. And it is very, very clear and will dry clear, but it will leave a little bit of a sheen. It will still be matte, but not as matte as if it didn't have any sealer on it. So same process as you would use for painting. You're just going to brush it on like this, offload it a little bit, and you're only going to need to put one coat. Now, if you want to use wax, the world of wax, there's so many waxing options. I am going to do another video that just goes over all the different waxing options because it can get a little complex and intimidating if you are unfamiliar with waxes. But today I'm just going to show you the very basic, easiest way to use wax. So you're going to want to use a soft wax. It's called Mind Your Own Beeswax, also by Amy Howard. It is a liquid wax, and you're just going to take some and put it on a piece of cardboard. And then you're going to use one of two brushes. Now, if you're going to be in this investing for the long haul, I highly recommend you get a hog hair brush. And you're going to want to use a hog hair brush, and you're going to get a better result, but you can use this brush over and over and over again as long as you clean it with the clean slate. If not, you can use a chip brush like this. These are disposable. You can get them for $5 on her site. I'll list it down below as well. You can also use this multiple times, and you're going to just take it, dip it in, make sure you get it in really well so it covers all of the bristles and gets up into the bristles. You're going to do that on that piece of cardboard. On the other piece of cardboard you're going to offload it. You don't want to attack your piece with, again, globs of wax. You want it to offload any excess. And then you're just going to, again, apply it here. You can go back and forth, or you can use a circular motion. Either way. And okay. Then I go back and I just take my brush, and if I've left any excess wax along the edges, I pick that up with the brush, and then I let it dry. But there's a caveat to this. You don't want to just let it dry, walk away, and forget about it. Set a timer for yourself for anywhere from 15 minutes to a half an hour, again, depending on how humid it is. So the more humid it is in your area, wait a little bit longer. If it's pretty dry, then only wait 15 minutes. And you're going to wait for it to come to tack. Now, what does tack mean? That's an industry term, and it's a way for you to describe the wax when it's tacky. And think of like the back of a sticky note. When you put your finger on the sticky part, it doesn't feel wet, and it's not permanent. You're not going to like glue your finger to it, but it does feel a little bit tacky. That's what you want it to feel like. Once it feels like it's come to tack, then you're going to take a lint-free rag and you're going to buff it. Okay, so grab your lint-free rag, and I have listed a few of my favorites down below, and you're just going to wad it up in your hand, and you're going to go back and forth, and you're just going to wipe off any excess like this. Okay, and then that will allow it to cure and dry really hard, and that will give you a long lasting, beautiful finish. Now, if you want it to be shinier, all you have to do is buff it more. Then what I would recommend is that if you're going to use this right away, that you refrain from heavy use, like on the top of a dining table for a couple weeks. Like, just be very gentle with it. I mean, it won't feel dry, it won't feel wet or anything like that, but for a long-lasting durability, if you can let it cure for a couple weeks, then I think you will be very, very happy with your creation. Okay, that's a wrap. So hopefully that answers all of your questions. If you have any more questions, feel free to email me at revivebyheidi@gmail.com. And if you found this video helpful, give me a little love by subscribing. There are lots more great tutorials where this came from. In fact, if you'll take a look around, there are more advanced tutorials on furniture painting and different finishes, and I will continue to add more every week. There are also great tutorials on upcycling and crafting. So anyway, have a fabulous day. I hope this was helpful, and happy painting.